what I felt was such an emptiness. I felt so broken. I didn't know what to do. And this one guy began to take a stick and beat me repeatedly over my chest. I wanted to commit suicide. I wanted to die. I didn't want to be on this earth anymore. My name is BJ Gimelot. This is my testimony. Well, my life started out basically like anybody else's life. I was just a kid living with my parents. They were both together there at the time. And basically, I lived in a church family when I was younger. We went to a local Church of Christ in Monroe, Louisiana. And I just remember that I enjoyed this part of my life. It was a very bright part of my life. And was when I was younger, had a situation where me and my cousin, we went over to my other cousin's house, and we were over there. We spent the night. My mom and dad were very close to my dad's sister and their family. And I just remember we stayed the night, and I had a cousin at the time that would come into the living room at night, 2 or 3 nights straight, and he would molest me and my sister. And I remember at this time, I really didn't understand it, but I knew what he was doing was wrong. And being a kid, I just was able to take that. I told my mom, I said, "Mom, this is what's happening." She got us out of that environment, and I took it and I basically buried that somewhere inside of me, and I moved on. Well, as my family began to deteriorate because of circumstances, as I mentioned earlier with my dad, my mother and my dad began to fight a lot. And I just remember at one point in time, my dad and my mom decided it would be best if they moved to Louisiana. Well, I didn't know at the time, but they were moving there for jobs, and because my mom and dad were actually thinking about getting separated. I got to know this guy. He was my best friend at the time. We lived on the same street that he did. And I remember I was living on the street. I was at his house one day, and we hung out all the time. I mean, we were together 24/7, 7 days a week. I mean, he was about 5 years older than me, but I looked up to him. He was like a mentor to me, and I really liked to hang out with this guy. But I remember one day, him and a group of my friends, we had gotten together, and we were out in his yard playing. And I remember I knew these guys from school. The guy's name was Brad. He told me about these guys and that they were cool, and I got to know them, and they seemed like really cool guys. We hung out every day for the next couple weeks. But I remember we went out in the woods one day, and they played a game where basically someone runs out in the woods and you go try to find them, and 3 or 4 people try to find them. Well, we were chasing them, and I just remember I had actually come out of the woods, and I was basically catching my breath. And I heard him find him, and then I heard him running back, and then I heard him scream out in pain, like just, ow, you know, like I'm hurt, something happened to me. Well, then he comes out of the woods, and he walks right past my friend Brad and past my other 2 friends, and walked straight up to me and said, "You did this to me." Now, being the smallest one of the group, I was like, "What? You know, I didn't do this to you. I was over here. I wasn't even chasing you." And he said, "No, you were the one that was after me at the time." And I began to tell him, "No, I wasn't near you." And I tried to explain it. And he said, "And now you have to pay for what you did to me." And I just remember thinking in my mind, I didn't do anything, you know? What did I do? Well, little did I know what was fixing to happen next. It would be one of those things that really would it would mess me up. And I remember him and 2 of my other friends took me out in the woods. My friend Brad followed them out there. They got out near this tree, and my friend Brad looked at me and just shook his head and looked down and walked off. And I remember my heart just dropping to my stomach and me thinking, my own friend has abandoned me. I'm left alone in the woods, and I really thought I was going to die. Well, these 2 guys, one of them grabbed me by the arms while the other actually watched. And this one guy began to take a stick and beat me repeatedly over my chest, over my lower half, across my neck, several times. I began to cry. I began to feel an emptiness that I've never felt before. And I began to question, why is this happening to me? And I remember we eventually made our way to Howell, Texas, which, to tell you the truth, I really didn't like to live in Howell. I loved living in Sherman, but at the time, Howell was where my mom had to move because of finances and jobs. So we were in Howell, And I just remember one day I was sitting in my bedroom and I felt this pain inside of me. I didn't understand it. I was still experiencing, I thought if I moved from Sherman to Howell, maybe it'd be different. You know, at Sherman I felt some kind of acceptance because I played football and that's where I felt accepted. When we moved to Howell, I thought maybe I'd be accepted in Howell. Well, I just remember being in Howell and I'm sitting there in my bedroom, and I remember feeling this pain inside of me. I didn't understand it. It was almost like my chest hurt, but it was deeper than that. And all those feelings and all that stuff that happened to me when I was younger, with my dad, with being molested, with being rejected by my friends, all that stuff began to come up to the surface. And I just began to, instead of crying, maybe I should have cried at the time, but instead of crying, I got angry. I just began to cry out to God. God, take this away. Do you even care? And I remembered, where's God been in this holy experience? Where has God been in my life? Where's He been at? I've went through all this hell and God has not been here. And I just looked up to heaven and I said, God, where are you? Remember my mom busting in the room saying, what's wrong, BJ? What's wrong? And I said, Mom, why did you let this happen to me? Why did you let these things happen to me? Why did you let these people do this to me? Why did you let me be exposed to this? Why didn't we have enough? Why were we poor? Why was I made fun of in school? Why was I rejected by my friends? And I just remember I cried out and I said, God, if you're real, you need to show yourself to me. Because if you don't, I'm taking my life. So I remember during the course of the week, I was just going on. Wednesday, I met this guy. His name's Rusty. And I met him and I talked to him. He became my friend very quickly. For the next 3 nights, he invited me over his house. Hey, come have food with us. Come hang out with us. So I did. I went to his house. We ate, we had food. He was a really nice guy. He accepted me for who I was. And I thought, man, what a great way to end life, you know, with a good person like this coming in. He didn't know about me wanting to commit suicide, and he didn't know nothing about that. And I just remember Rusty, one day he said, hey BJ, I'm going to be moving out of my house on Saturday, my old house, into this new trailer that we're living in now. We're actually just kind of living here just like day to day. Can you just come and help me move some stuff? And I just remember I went to his old trailer. We started to move stuff and he picked up this box of breakables. I'll never forget this. He picked up this box of breakables and he just stopped. And all of a sudden tears began to fill his eyes. And I thought, what have I done? I've hurt another person. I've done something else wrong. How could this get any worse? This guy's a nice guy. He cares about me. He's my friend. And he dropped the box. And it just shattered everywhere. Stuff went flying everywhere. And he just starts crying, just sobbing, just uncontrollably. And I'm in shock. I'm like, what is going on? And he looked at me. And I'll never forget these words, what he said. He said, BJ, God has a plan for you. He said He heard you when you were in your bedroom and you were on your knees beating your fist into your head into the ground. And He said, BJ, He doesn't want you to kill yourself. He doesn't want you to end your life. God wants you to be His friend. He loves you. He heard your prayer that night. He wants you to know that He's real. He wants you to know that He hears every prayer. And I'll just tell you something. I don't know if you believe in God or not, but I know that I prayed a prayer to a being that I didn't even believe in and spoke words that no one could have even heard. And this guy said almost word for word what I said to God. I looked at this guy and tears began to fill my eyes, and I knew right then, God is real. I knew it. So that's my story. That's how God touched me. That's how God came into my life, and God touched me, and He showed me that He was real. So I'm telling you right now. I don't know where you are. I don't know what you've gone through, but I want to tell you right now, from that time and from to today, it hasn't been all awesome. But I know one thing is that I can pray, and I have a God in heaven that hears me. I can go to God about anything at all. So I'm just tell you right now that God loves you. God accepts you, no matter what you're dealing with, no matter what kind of pain and trouble you're experiencing right now. God is real, and He'll come to that place where you are, just like He came to the place where I was. I'm BJ Gimelot. Thanks for listening.